Hey you guys, it's Natalie. I just got back from a 2-month solo backpacking trip throughout Europe, and I wanted to put together a video about how to get over the fear of solo traveling. So if you are very excited about going on your first trip, but you're just a little bit scared, you're filled with anxiety, or maybe you're just scared to go into the unknown, into a new country, a new state, whatever it might be, then this video is for you. I'm going to share with you a couple of tips that will ease some of the anxiety and hopefully get you on your way to your first solo trip. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first thing I want to ask you is, if you don't go now, then when will you? You have to remind yourself that you only live once, okay? And this moment right now is all that we have. Your current life situation, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you're not dating anyone, or maybe you have some time off from work, like whatever your situation is, maybe right now is the best time to go, because down the road you might have other people you have to take care of. You might have kids, you might have a job that's more demanding. Like, you don't know what your life situation will look like later. So you might as well just go now. Remind yourself why you even thought of the idea of going on a solo traveling trip in the first place. Like, you wanted to go for the adventure. You wanted to challenge yourself. You wanted to go to a place that was completely new and foreign to you. Like, you wanted to see the world. You have to remind yourself why you even thought of the idea of solo traveling in the first place. And when you do that, you'll remind yourself, like, dang, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a great adventure. The next thing that you can do is ask yourself, what is the worst thing that will happen? Okay, facing your fear head on is going to be such a useful skill before your trip and during your trip, and then just in life in general. I actually did this before I left for my 2-month solo backpacking trip because I had so much anxiety as I was planning this thing out. I was thinking of all these doomsday scenarios, and I was freaking out as I was packing. I was freaking out as I was booking my Airbnbs. I was like, oh my God. What I did was take a piece of paper and I wrote down each fear. And I was like, once I have it on a piece of paper and come up with a solution or a way that I would solve this conflict if I, ran into this problem in real life, and then feel comfortable with the fact that I just solved that problem. So it's like any fear I have, I basically just dissolved almost instantly. So that might help you. I just like to write them all down, because then you realize it's like, okay, it's not that many things I'm afraid of. And actually, I know how to get over each of these fears. So really, what am I afraid of? Okay. And you'll find when you start traveling by yourself that a lot of the things that you were afraid of, you won't be afraid of them anymore, because you're dipping your foot in the water. Or if you do a 2-month trip, you're basically jumping into the water, and then you'll realize that, okay, it's not so scary. Like, let's do this again. I'm ready, My next tip is to plan your trip well in advance so that you can visualize your exact trip during your sleep, during the day. Like, whenever you start to get anxiety about your trip, you can just run through your itinerary. Like, what time are you leaving? Like, where are you going to go? Or like, generally, what food places are you going to visit? Like, what type of tourist things do you want to do? Just so you feel comfortable. Like, when you can actually visualize it, you're living in this like alternate reality. And so when you actually go to this place, you'll be like, I remember going there, like in your head essentially. But it's like, if you go on Google Maps, you can see exactly what the restaurant will look like. Or if you go to your Airbnb photos, you can see exactly what the place will look like. Hopefully you do that in advance anyway. But it'll just give you a peace of mind knowing what you're stepping into. It's not the unknown. It's something that you kind of are familiar with. But once you're there, you're like, okay, I'm ready. Like, let's do this thing. Okay, my next tip is to realize that you're never actually alone, okay? I know that's one of like the biggest fears when you're solo traveling. It's like you're all by yourself. Like, if anything goes wrong, like you only have your own back, which is very, very true. But I think from like a social element, you're going to meet so many people along your journey, and you're not going to be that lonely. And if you want your alone time, like, trust me, you'll get it. But if you also want to be social and like meet new people, like, there are so many ways that you can do that as well. For example, you can go out to different walking tours. Those are free. I'll throw the website to some of the walking tours that I signed up for. I never actually did them, but they are free. It's a great way to meet other people that are also traveling by themselves, because a lot of solo travelers do those tours. You can also go to cafes and talk with the servers or the people in the cafes. I'm telling you, when you go to Europe, people are so much more like, they are very, very nice and friendly, and like, you'll find a lot more people just walk up to you randomly and start a conversation. In the US, that's like super weird, but in Europe, it's much, much different. Okay, my next tip is, if you are missing home, or you feel like you are so alone and you want to feel like your mom just gave you a big hug and you're eating cookies from your grandma or something, you know what you can do is call your friends and family, okay? It's not like you're gonna go to a random country or a new state or something and you're all of a sudden like living in this like alternate world. It's like, no, you You can call your family, you can call your friends, you can text them all day if you want, okay? You can get a plan, an international plan that works for you and makes you feel comfortable. When I was like a month into my Europe trip, that's when I started calling my family a little bit more because I was missing home. So that was nice just to like be a phone call away from them essentially. One other thing I want you to think about is right now, are you living by yourself? Are you living with roommates or are you living by yourself? For me personally, I was already living by myself. So if you can do that on a day-to-day basis and be by yourself, live by yourself, cook for yourself, have fun adventures, you know, make plans with friends, do all of these things by yourself on a day-to-day basis anyway, you're basically already solo traveling on a day-to-day basis. It's just going to be a new environment. Does that make sense? Get that into your head. You're already doing it. It's just going to be in a brand new place. Does that make sense? People always freak out. It's like all these things could go wrong when you're solo traveling. Like you could get robbed or like someone could come up to you and like steal all your money, like whatever it is. It's just like all these bad doomsday scenarios, okay? Well, in your day-to-day life, bad things happen as well. And I'm not trying to be like the Debbie Downer here, but like bad things happen in your normal life too. What do you do when that happens? Like what would you do if someone just randomly stole your purse? Well, you would probably call the police, right? Like your brain will just immediately snap into the, okay, I know what to do to solve this problem mode in your day-to-day life, but it will also snap into that mode when you're solo traveling. It doesn't matter where you're at. You already have these problem-solving skills. It's just you haven't really used them as much in a new environment. And so that's just going to be the scary part. But trust me, once you start to get in the flow of things and like you get off the airplane and you're in the new place, like you're going to be good to go. Okay. Trust me. And also like you'll be surprised that you will be able to solve a lot more problems than you think you're capable of. Okay. And like I got robbed in Salt Lake City. Bad things happen, but you always find the solution. Think about it like that. Okay, my next tip is if this is your first solo traveling trip, I would recommend getting an accommodation that you feel extremely comfortable with, okay? And let's say you've already booked your accommodation. It's an Airbnb that was like super, super cheap or cheap hotel, like whatever it is. And you're kind of looking at the pictures and the reviews and you're just getting like this weird gut feeling that it's not going to be good. It's not going to be safe. It gives you weird vibes. Okay. What I would recommend you doing is just rebooking to a place that you feel extremely comfortable in, because if this is your first solo traveling trip, going back to a place that you feel safe in and comfortable in and just like you feel homey in will make you feel so much better. It's going to give you a peace of mind as you're exploring a new city, you're exploring a new place. You're like in your head, well, I can go home and just like lay in my bed and be comfortable, right? But if you in your head, you're thinking I have to go back to a place that I'm not even comfortable with, then it's like you're not going to want to go on this trip at all, okay? So drop a little bit extra dough and get a place that you feel super, super safe in, comfortable in, and is within your budget. Trust me, like I've also tried to just save money and get like the cheap hotel and the cheap Airbnb and like they're shit and you know they're shit and then you feel like you just can't fall asleep and it's just not a comfortable feeling. I've had to cut my trip short because I was in a very unsafe hotel. Like I got robbed in Salt Lake City and then right after that, my hotel basically was not even a real hotel. I booked it through this really weird website and I'll throw up the video up here if you want to watch the whole thing. It was just a nightmare, but I had to cut the trip short because of it. Going off of that tip is indulge in yourself, like pamper yourself to the max on your first solo trip, okay? Spend a little bit extra money on your accommodation. Spend more money on the food that you're eating. Spend more money on the adventures that you're going on because this is your first trip. You want to make it so exciting, so comfortable, so like I want to go right now. Like you don't want to drop all this money and feel all this like anxiety and fear and then go on the trip and hate it, right? So make yourself feel comfortable. Take care of yourself because that's exactly what you're going to have to do when you're on this trip anyway. You are going to be your own best friend. You are your own caretaker. You're your own caretaker right now, but like it's going to feel more real when you're, you know, in a completely new environment that you've never been in, okay? Like for me, I always spend a little bit extra money. I don't really cut corners on accommodations at all anymore. Like I want to feel super, super safe, but I also like, I love food. I'm a huge foodie, so I like going to all the places that look really good to me. Like if it's a restaurant, if it's a cafe, like I am gonna go no matter what because it's what makes me happy. It's what is going to make the experience and the trip more fun, in my opinion. All right, then my next tip is to prepare all of your essentials before you leave. So I'm talking about bringing a portable phone charger because if your phone dies, that is really bad. you need to watch your own back. Essentially, have an extra charger on you, have the band-aids with you, have the emergency contact numbers on you, like written on a piece of paper, have the extra copies of your passport, of your ID, have all the things that you absolutely need to keep yourself safe. If any shitty things do happen, you have them on you. That's going to remove the anxiety and fear of going on your first trip because you are prepared. You have all the things and it's going to be okay. But if something bad does happen, you got your own back. One other thing is scheduling Ubers in advance too. So that's also part of the preparing and getting your essentials ready to go. You can schedule out your Uber at the airport or picking you up from your apartment to the airport in advance. So all you have to do is set your alarm clock and then everything is set. Like the Uber will get you, the flight is gonna leave, like you're gonna arrive at your Airbnb, like it's gonna be perfect. All you have to do is just enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey. Okay, then my next tip is you can always ask for help. So if you're worried like about going to a new place by yourself and you're like, I'm not gonna understand the language, or like I'm gonna get lost, or all these bad things are gonna happen, just remember, you can ask anyone for help. Like, I know it sounds very scary, but when you're by yourself, it's gonna, like, people are going to be more open to helping you. If that makes sense. At least that's like from my experience. Don't be afraid to open your mouth and just ask for help because you'll save a lot of time as well. And then my last and final tip is to remember to have fun, okay? Because I know there's so much planning, there's so much anxiety, fear, excitement, like all these emotions you probably have never really felt before, right before you go on this trip. And your friends and family might be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you going by yourself? Like, just bring a friend, bring your boyfriend, like do something with other people. Like, why are you such a loner? Just don't listen to these people. Do what you love to do and have a good time. Remember that, yes, there's going to be emotions. Yes, there's going to be excitement, anxiety, and just, you know, all these crazy emotions. But remember, emotions are normal. And just like appreciate this moment. Appreciate the journey you're about to go on because you are about to level up and just understand who you are on such a deep level. That is it for this video, guys. I hope these tips and pieces of advice really help you and inspire you to book your own solo traveling trip. I remember my first trip was to LA back in, it was 2021. I'll throw the video up here if you want to watch it, but that one changed my life and I just got so hooked on solo traveling and just seeing the world, pushing myself, pushing my limits, challenging myself, and just pushing past fears, okay? I think that's really what it's all about, and just enjoying the journey as well. So that is it for today's video, you guys. Make sure you sign up for the Level Up Your Life membership, which is 99 cents a month. The link is down below. We go live multiple times during the week, and you're in a community of people that want to level up their lifestyle, their mindset, their nutrition, their physique, everything, okay? If you are interested in that membership, it is down below. And that is it for today's video, you guys. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.